Or you'll upgrade your plan. Streamlive is actually seems like, or StreamYard has updated itself. Maybe it's actually worth the money now. Hello, everybody. How are you? I'm going to talk for 30 seconds until this thing catches up and lets me know that we are out there in the universe. Hello, Matt Ross. Hello, JD RX2 and Kyogen. Kyogen? What is that little? I can't see what that thing is. Oh, that works. It's a whistling person, I think. Rayo, how are you? Clay, how are you?
I'm good.
We're both just logging on. It feels like we're waking up in the middle of the night.
I know.
To talk
I know.
to each other.
It's been a while. It's been a while since we've done this.
I always get a little bit nervous before a live stream for some reason, even though it literally feels no different than just recording the podcast. We just have less of a focus about what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Tom Hickey, how are you? And Matt Ross says faces. I know it's been a long time. Since
how's the sound, everyone? Am I quiet? Because
you sound loud to me, but it might just
okay.
Be me. Yeah, but let us know.
I remember having to turn up a bit to do streaming, so I can turn up a bit.
Let us know. Stephen Ross, how are you? Stephen, old reliable audiophile. Let us know how the audio sounds here.
Ooh, Stephen and Matt Ross.
Yep, not related though.
Not related.
No.
All right,
Clay's
this is
much
gonna
louder than Wes.
Okay, hold on a second.
Wes is. I can turn up if I'm quiet. Is Clay an appropriate level of volume? Do I need to turn?
9 years, everybody. We've been doing this for 9 years.
I'm gonna turn up. They're telling me I'm quiet. How does this sound? Is this better? Does that sound better? How does that sound right now? David Ross, musical instruments. Wait a minute. Is that yet another Ross?
Whoa.
It's another David Ross.
Whoa.
Clay is good. All right, Bear. How do I sound? Wes should come up 15%. I twisted it about 15. Wes should turn up. Loud, even louder now, Jeffrey Coke. You lasted more than some marriages.
He's just trying to.
I had to think about whether or not the Trek pod. I'm still quiet? No, I'm not. Is this my gain? Yeah, that's my gain.
9 years.
Still quiet? Why would I still be quiet? All the way up? I'm going, Jeff.
Whoa, peeking it out.
You don't hear a difference in my volume. Hold on a second. Why? Why would that be? Do I sound any louder to you?
Yeah, you sound much louder to me.
I'm going to talk for a second and see. There it is. Good. We're here. Why doesn't StreamYard... I was just praising StreamYard, but StreamYard still doesn't give me... Thank you, JD. It still doesn't give me like a volume meter. I'm now close enough to Clay, both like in proximity or just in mic volume. There we go. Everybody. Why can't they give me an audio meter on the bottom of this thing? That seems like it would make sense, but I guess they can't. Clay, how are you? You're wearing your Star Trek badge.
Yeah, I'm wearing 3, one for every 3 years we've done this, and only because they're the only 3 that are not currently behind glass in a case that would be difficult to get out. Although it's annoying me that the Section 31 badge is difficult to see on camera because of the black side of it.
Oh, I didn't even see. There it is. Yeah. No, I see it. I only saw the 1. Now I see the 2 and the 3. There it is. It's on your right bosom.
So Section 31 is on my De Niro.
Yep.
And we got Star Trek, the motion picture, on my Kilmer, and Lower Decks above my Pacino.
I'm wearing my my Live Long and Prosper shirt, which is hard to.
You know,
they just
9 years.
Wearing that. Yeah.
We're doing this 9 years. I still don't have a good Star Trek shirt. Actually, that's not true. Sean actually gifted me a pretty good Star Trek shirt. That was from a series that are done kind of like Saul Bass poster designs.
Yeah.
And it's for Balance of Terror, which my favorite TOS episode is pretty cool.
Oh, interesting. I
should have worn that.
Yeah, I've never seen you wear it. That's fine. You need to create a Neil Breen denim jacket full of Star Trek medals.
Oh, baby, I got one. Don't worry.
You can't wear it when you're podcasting because the audio jingling would drive people insane.
I
lose half the audience.
I wore it to a convention once, and I felt like I was wearing like I was covered in metals that were just constantly jingling. And when I came home, I had lost maybe 30% of the pin backs, and so I decided maybe this is an at-home jacket.
How did the Penske podcast start? What's the lore?
Ooh, what is the lore? That's a good question, because I came on in season 1 of Star Trek: The Next Generation, but fairly quickly, I think.
Yeah, you came on with
Angel One, baby. Never forget your first episode.
this was it was Angel One. Sean Cordy came on and did Data Lore, which was the episode before that one. And Modi, who hasn't been on the podcast in a while, was the very first guest with Justice, which is the first episode of the podcast that had a guest on it. But yeah, the introduction podcast went up on August 14th, so we're actually a day late from that. Although it feels a little bit anticlimactic to say that the introduction episode is the first episode of the podcast instead of Encounter at Farpoint. But tell us some comfortable personal details. So I'm just clicking through these things. And then Clay wasn't full time until DS9.
Deep Space Nine.
Season 4 of DS9. So it's been a long time.
No. I started Deep Space Nine from the beginning. I was the full time start in the beginning, I think. Wasn't I?
No, you weren't. You were. We decided at the Dominion arc to start you full time because we alternated. You did Emissary, but you weren't every episode at that point.
Oh, okay.
So I think it was season 4. It's either season 4 or season 3. So it was halfway through.
Well, I guess we have stuff we can go back and do later when we're out of stuff.
We still have revisits of DS9. No, but the podcast just started as, I think I've mentioned it before, so I'll just be quick. It started as because Camille Nanjiani did his X-Files podcast, which was him going through all the episodes of the X-Files. And it was like, I want to do something like that. I don't know what to do with a YouTube channel. And then I said, I like Star Trek The Next Generation. I'll do the exact same thing he's doing, but I'll do it for Star Trek The Next Generation.
And look where he is now. Not doing that anymore. We've outlasted Camille, but he's much more successful than we are.
He's in much better shape than I am right now. But look at this room that I've moved into as the way that the podcast has succeeded. No, and then that's pretty much it. It started, I was going to do every episode by myself, and that was like, I quickly realized that was not the way to do anything. And then I just had guests on, and then Clay joined full-time. Yeah, not full-time until season 4, part-time before that. So these people know all the
fickle
facts.
my memory.
9 years, though, which is surprising. I was talking to you, and I was talking to Amy, that it's weird that it's been around for 1/4 of my life since I'm 40 shortly, and the Star Trek podcast is going to be 10 years shortly. That is just...
Yeah.
It's not 20, as you were saying, it's not 25% of my life.
Right. It's not the only thing you've been doing for 10 years.
But it's been running.
Feels like it sometimes.
I've only been married a year longer than the podcast, which is...
You were sick of it that fast, huh?
Yeah. I was like, I need to talk to somebody else. I'd like to talk to myself in the corner of my room. Yeah. And I don't know which feels... It feels like I've been married longer than the podcast, not in a bad way, but and I have been married for a little bit longer. But that's just a surprising bit of trivia. I don't know what Amy thought she was signing up for when I was like, "Well, now we're married, and I'm just going to talk into my Blue Yeti while you sit quietly in the 1-bedroom apartment. Just don't make any noise, please."
Now that this is legal, I have something to tell you.
That's right.
I am starting a podcast.
I've taken all of your bank accounts and merged them into mine, and I'm going to use that money to start my own little podcast. Thank you, Video Void. Well, good to see everybody.
Thank you.
So it's new out there in the world. You guys can... We don't really have a game plan about what we want to talk about, so it's really just kind of a hangout thing. What's new with you, Clay? Anything? Sorry, I'm trying to figure out which way the camera moves when I turn which way or the other way.
I saw Last Voyage of the Demeter this past weekend, which was very fun. Disappointing at the box. Dracula, I was hoping this was going to be Hot Dracula Summer with Renfield coming out early in the year and Last Voyage of the Demeter kind of bookending the summer season. But nobody really seemed interested in either of those movies, unfortunately. Yeah. Renfield was very good. It was a lot of fun. Demeter was good. It's a very solid monster on a ship, literally monster on a ship story.
What kind of monster? Is it a sea monster?
It's Dracula.
Oh, it's Dracula.
Yeah.
Okay. Never mind.
It's a very the version of Dracula is very remember in Bram Stoker's Dracula when he turns into like the bat guy?
Yep.
It's like that through the whole movie,
okay.
which your mileage may vary on your personal preference on Dracula. But I wish they had done more practical stuff, because like they had a lot of these close-ups that were all clearly CGI, and it's like, let's just do some makeup, you know?
Yeah. Not in this day and age. This isn't your grandpa's movies anymore. Sorry, I'll just keep going.
It's funny though, because there's this weird kind of hump that they have to, or these two things that don't quite reconcile, where they're literally doing a section of Dracula, the book, but the Dracula they're presenting you is this monstrous like creature that only lives to feed, but he has like a family crest, you know? So he's got all these boxes of dirt with the Dracula crest on him and stuff, but he's this weird inhuman monster. So I don't know when his family got officially added to the aristocracy.
Jeffrey Koch says Oppenheimer and Barbie crushed any Dracula hype, I suppose. Could be true.
That was like a month ago. You'd think there would be.
They're still going strong.
Yeah.
People
I guess Demeter didn't have its Barbie analog, I guess, to counter.
No. Jeffrey Koch said, what made you start bringing in guests? Talking to yourself is very difficult. Even to record a minute-long thing, it takes me 50 tries to record a minute-long thing if I'm by myself for whatever reason. If I have to sit down and do a podcast, I can 99% of the time I can get it right the first time. I can't do that by myself for whatever reason. It makes no sense, but that's the way that it is. And it's just more fun to have guests on. And eventually the reason that there is only one guest, which is Clay as a co-host, is that when you do this regularly, it becomes very difficult to have people who are unfamiliar with the recording process. That's really the reason that the guesting thing dropped off, is because it's like the risk of ruining a recording is like kind of catastrophic at a certain point where you're like, that just killed the night basically, and there's nothing to make up for it. So,
and also I don't have much of a life outside of this.
Clay's begging for something else to be done, but that's really the reason why. In hindsight, any Star Trek reviews you felt you got really wrong or really right? Well, all of them are really right.
You must be new to the show, my friend, because I don't remember anything. As soon as I hit stop, it's out of my brain.
Really right is everything. Really wrong. What did I get really wrong?
I'd like
to go back and do the movies again. I think our movie take could probably be improved at this point.
I mean, hey, if you want, I love the movies. I would say, I bet when we went through Deep Space Nine, I was kind of so on The Visitor, which is everybody's like favorite episode. Yeah. I have a feeling I'd probably like that one more now.
That's probably, I feel like I know your opinions better because I remember them more than mine for some reason. And I would probably say The Visitor would be my surprise for you. And you gave it a 4. It wasn't even a bad review. It was just like, you didn't give it
yeah. That's me saying, I understand what you're doing and I appreciate the attempt, but I don't like it.
I don't care for this thing. Yeah. Anything does it work for you? Anything you remember that you're like, wow, that's the wrong opinion about this garbage? I think it's just the movies. I went back and listened, and we recorded the movies before we had our current flow of discussion, so they sound slow to me. Yeah, they sound like they were, because they were fairly early in our recording process.
I think doing the movies, I would probably be lighter on the movies. The one like I find myself weirdly enough coming back. This is not a Star Trek specific thing. I tend to do this for whatever reason. I find myself coming back and watching the lesser entries of series more so now than I do. I've watched Wrath of Khan 25 times, but I don't really find myself going back to that one as much.
Yeah.
Like when I say I want to throw on a Star Trek, I feel like I usually throw on 5 or 3, weirdly enough.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is weird.
I think 5 is a little bit unjustly maligned.
Sure. Do you throw on the TNG ones ever? If so, which one? Because you watched Nemesis recently, but that was because of...
I did. If I go back to the TNG ones, I will usually go back to Nemesis if I'm not going back to First Contact.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I do Generations. I still like Generations.
Yeah, that one too. Yeah, I've always had a soft spot for that one.
Let's see here.
You know which one I don't ever put on? I never put on 4. Like it's by far the one I've seen the least.
Yeah, this shows you how off with the movie. The Voyage Home right? Is
Yes.
4. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would. I don't watch it either, although I think it's one of the better movies.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
It's not a rewatchable one.
Yeah. For some reason, I don't know.
Yeah. Good to see faces again. Feels uncomfortable as ever.
There was a Buffy question in there somewhere.
Oh, I'll start scrolling
sure,
down.
yeah.
I think it's carrying away, so we can go through these quickly. What happens first? We finally cover Solo, or Clay tells that Jamaica story again.
Guys, do I need to tell it? You guys, everybody, recite it for me.
I'm not watching Solo.
I once went to. Yes, I heard all of you say it at once in unison.
Never underestimate the power of a meme.
I don't think we're ever gonna get to Solo. I think Solo broke us.
No, Solo was terrible. We watched. What happened? We watched it.
Dave had to cancel, and then we couldn't immediately reschedule it, and it was going to be far enough out that we would all have to watch it again.
No, not going to happen. I still haven't seen. What is it? Rise of Skywalker? Is that the last one?
Yeah,
I haven't seen that. Did you guys like the musical Star? I haven't seen Strange New Worlds. Have you seen Strange New Worlds?
I haven't watched it yet. No, I'm looking forward to checking out. I'm looking forward to the Lower Decks episode, which I heard was pretty good. Your my mileage always varies with musical episodes because they always seem too.
It's a little clever. It's pretty
clever.
A
little too clever. Like for the Buffy people, I actually my probably hot take on Buffy is I don't think the musical episode of Buffy's that good. But that's just me. I know it's everybody's favorite episode, but
what was the episode after watching you dreaded most having to talk about?
Oh geez. That's tough because like I don't know because I feel like that's even the worst ones are easy to talk about because you kind of work your way through it.
It would be a middling episode. It would be something that I was like, I don't know what that was, but then you get to anyone that I dread having to talk about.
I feel like it might have happened recently for me. I think there was a Voyager episode where I was going into it thinking like, I don't even want to talk about this episode, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, it's almost like at this point the recording process is enough of a machine where it's like it's kind of what's going on personally. It has more of like I'm like, God damn it, I've got to record something like where you're either busy or you've had a fight or you're in a bad mood or something, and it's like, oh right, I have to talk about this episode of Star Trek. That has more of an impact than any of the bad ones, really, because I don't mind talking about the famous episodes. I don't have like a concern about like, oh, I hope I capture this appropriately or whatever. It's like it just comes through. Speaking of Vampires, Clay, my girlfriend and I finished all 7s of Buffy. Are you going to do a Buffy podcast? I'll leave that up there.
Probably not. I would need to find someone who'd want to do it with me, and I'm assuming Wes is not interested. I don't even know if I'm interested, frankly.
It's a big undertaking.
It is. It's a big undertaking, and
7 seasons is a lot. I mean, we do the Star Trek, but 7 seasons of a TV show is a tremendous amount of TV.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so many other ones. You know, if you, I mean, not that I don't think my insight would be unique and different and better than all the other ones out there, but
is there a big Buffy rewatch podcast? Do you know? I
think there's a ton of them. There's like, yeah, I think I would say it's probably one of the ones that has the most, based on no evidence whatsoever. It just seems like the kind of show that's like Star Trek. Star Trek has so many people covering it. I think Buffy is one of those shows where there's just so many people talking about it. And then you got to get into like, if you're going to do Buffy, you got to do Angel, and like there's one out there that does Buffy and Angel, and they do it chronologically. So they'll do it, the Buffy episode aired and what episode of Angel aired that week, and that kind of thing. Yeah,
it's a lot. I mean, the reason I love Deadwood, but one of the reasons I wanted to do the Deadwood one was also just because there was no Deadwood rewatch podcast that had completed the series. Not that I found.
That's why we did The Prisoner back in the day, because there was only like one Prisoner podcast, and I don't think they finished the show.
Yeah.
Not that we did. Well, we did.
we did.
We finished the show that counted.
I still something about that rewatch not the remake of The
remake,
Prisoner. He had that. I don't even remember. I remember us thinking it was hysterical. Just he has that. He's like screaming at a guy on the bus, going like, "You told me to do this. You told."
Yeah, it's a
And
bad
he's
show.
like, "No, I didn't." He goes, "Oh, you didn't tell me to do
Bad show.
it." Let's see here. Light at the end of the tunnel for season 3 of Void. People keep saying this about everything. It's the last 8 or so. The episode quality goes up. It's the last 8. Now watch. You will both prove me wrong.
You guys, they sound like physical trainers when you're like,
I know.
"No,
I can't do any more sit-ups.
Just 5 more. You're gonna get there. 5 more. Okay, you did 5. Now 6 more."
But this doesn't even make me a better person. Watching 3 more episodes of Voyager, I'm not like I'm not extending my lifespan.
There's no net positive mentally or physically to this.
You guys were praising season 1 of Voyager for having such sharp characters right out of the gate coming from Enterprise. I was actually thinking about season 1 of Voyager the other day, just apropos of nothing. Do you think we overrated it? Were we just coming out of Enterprise? Other people seem to agree that season 1 of Voyager is very good for a first season of a Star Trek show. And I feel like it was novel at that point, too. That's my thing for it. It's like it was, especially after Enterprise, it felt like it was like, okay, this show is going to be trying to do something. And it quickly stopped trying to do something.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think coming out of the gate, the concept was so good. And the characters seemed like they had a firm footing.
They had they felt like they could have a personality early in Voyager in a way that early Enterprise didn't even attempt to do that.
Yeah. And then, it just fell into its the trappings of the franchise very quickly, unfortunately.
Talking into a camera is very difficult. I know you don't cover Strange New Worlds, but do you watch it? No, we don't. I don't watch it.
I would, but we don't currently have
Paramount
Plus. So
you'll look back at early Discovery views and note down way more credit was given by us to Discovery. I don't know what the context.
I mean, if that's true, I would believe that. I would believe that. I mean, I think at least I was going into Discovery hoping for the best.
Yeah.
Even despite that opening scene of the pilot, which I still think was a harbinger of doom, but
I still liked the Klingons in season 1 of Discovery. I like them. I don't
Yeah,
care
they're
how
fine.
they look. I thought that they were kind of interesting. Congrats. Really enjoyed the videos. Thank you very much. 9 years,
Thanks.
9 times. I bet the way our lives have changed would probably alter your perspective on certain episodes, becoming a father, other big life. Yes.
sure.
We must have watched The Visitor after I was a father. So I imagine that
Yeah,
is,
I think so.
Cisco means a little bit more that way. But we haven't had any, there's no like 9/11 or anything as we were watching the podcast that would, what was the biggest incident that happened during the podcast? Like the biggest global event,
Well,
pandemic, I guess.
This was 9 years. Okay, so we missed the marathon bombing
Oh, did we?
because that's 10 years this year.
It's got to be the pandemic, but I don't know what the second option
Oh, wait a
would
minute.
be.
It was 20. Yeah, so we started in 2014. Yeah, so we missed that by a year. Yeah, pandemic was the funniest one. Actually, is the first season of Badass was such a shit show as far as recording because we were planned to release the entire season at once,
Netflix style.
Yeah, that our first episode was recorded a year and a half before we put it out, and so like a lot had happened politically in the world since we had first recorded. So if you go back and you listen to that one, it's like I think it came out. We were like spitballing stuff about what Trump's presidency might have been like, and then we dropped the episode like a year and a half into it.
Yep.
It was one of those kinds
into
of
his
things,
presidency.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. That's the downside of both recording in huge batches and talking politics.
It's funny. I've been listening to. Do you know the Blank Check podcast? It's a show where they well, it doesn't matter. It's a movie podcast, and I've been listening to episodes from like late 2019, early 2020 because they were doing like a series on John Carpenter or Tim Burton or one of those. They basically go through like filmographies of directors and stuff.
Yep.
And it's really funny listening to them right on the cusp of COVID before anybody knows that it's coming, and just listening to how kind of like positive and like, oh, maybe, you know, next year, blah, blah, blah. In my back of my head, I'm always like, you guys have no idea what's coming, man. No idea. I hear you making plans, but you're going to have to cancel all of them.
I wonder, I don't think we got too into COVID early. I don't think we talked about it much.
I don't think so. I mean,
it didn't delay the podcast,
yeah,
or anything, because it wouldn't have had any. Yeah, it wouldn't have had any impact. But yeah, I don't. Maybe that would be to tie into the previous person's question about something like that you regret or something. There's probably some topic I just like did not accurately capture whatsoever. I don't think it was COVID because we didn't talk about it. But yep. Let's see. There's a poll on Patreon. That's why, if there is a question about why we're watching Voyager instead of Strange New Worlds, the patrons decided that would be the case fairly decisively too. It was like 2/3 of the patron vote went for Voyager, which I agree with Kyle Barrett, who's probably not here, but he had said that like if Strange New Worlds was not right on the heels of Picard, we would probably be doing Strange New Worlds, but it was right after Picard, and it's too much.
Going back to episodes that we dreaded recording, there was a few Picard episodes where I was not really psyched for it.
I would say that's true, and probably the start of each season I was not particularly excited for. Being like, even before you watch the episode, be like, oh man, this is a whole nother thing of this. What really popular episode do you not care for? Well, Clay's is The Visitor. And mine, really popular episode I don't care for. I'll have to pull up the ratings. I can look at the ratings in a little bit and see. A very original series with a focus on the trio, bad special effects, and a godlike being.
I like the godlike being in 5, though, because the whole point is that he's full of shit. And
yeah, so I think that's what he's saying. Yeah, is that's why 5 has kind of a charm to it, is because it's so like the original series.
What does God need with a spaceship? It's one of my favorite lines in the entire franchise. Starship. Sorry.
It's it's the equivalent of talking the computer to death, but it's a good question to ask a deity. Those Old Scientists was, in my opinion, one of the best crossover episodes, period. Do you know which episode? Is that a Buffy episode?
Not sure.
Not sure. I think only Trials and Tribulations might beat it of the Trek crossovers. What would be a crossover episode? Not sure. We did suffer through season 2. We're catching up now. We're catching up to what you guys are talking about. The Enterprise with episode. No, I don't.
Don't even remember it.
I remember it. I don't think it was that bad. The badness of Enterprise to me is summed up in that episode. I don't remember which one it was, but it was part of that trilogy of terror where we gave everything like 1s for 5 episodes. There's an episode where they're in like a bar, and T'Pol ties like leather straps around her feet and runs across acid that's outside.
Oh,
and it was just,
yeah.
And there's like a Bruce Davidson or something is the guest star in that, and he hides under a table.
Right. I do remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a bad episode. You went to a Deadwood podcast to say
cock.
It's either cock or cunt to punch. Yeah, so I have either one, or cock sucker.
Clay,
that's true. Coda. We're going through Space Above and Beyond because no one has really done a podcast on the series. Is that the Dawn of the Dead? Not Dawn of the Dead. What's the comedy zombie movie with the British?
Oh, Shaun of the Dead? No, that's Space. Duh.
Oh, okay.
Space Above and Beyond is that a 70s show? There's one from the 90s that was on Fox. I can't remember if that's Space Above. That might be Space Above and Beyond. I can't remember.
Clay, your Prisoner podcast was excellent. Holds up really well. When I last heard of it 6 months ago.
Thank you. I've been wary about going back and listening to it because I don't know, lots happened since then, and I'm curious. I haven't watched the show in a bit, and
sorry, they're just in there. It is the 7th. The 7th was that terrible Enterprise episode. Yeah, sorry.
Yes. Yeah, I haven't watched the show in a bit, and I'm due to go back to it. But I don't even know. I don't even want to know what I said about those episodes, frankly.
It's the same thing for me. It's we've just gotten better at talking and recording it's hard to go back to the early audio.
I'll tell you I listened to a clip of one, and we sounded pretty good, and I think that was when we were recording them in person at your apartment.
Or
Where they had
audio wise, it sounded good.
the two mics set up. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like for that show, I was taking copious amounts of notes, and
Yeah.
I take no notes now because I don't
We,
care.
we also, I mean, the Star Trek thing suffered from the same thing too, which was that it took a while to understand to move away from like a plot beat analysis, which you get more comfortable doing. But when you're starting out, it's like a very easy place to start. There is to say like in the beginning this happens, and what do we think of this, and after that this happens. What do we think of that?
I do think that the Deadwood podcast is sort of the mirror version of the Prisoner podcast, because both of those shows are ones where it's like, all right, let's get into what the show is saying, what it's about, and how they're doing it, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true. And they are more difficult to template, if for lack of a better word, than the Trek one. Like Trek has such a formula, where Prisoner and Deadwood are much. They don't have a Star Trek formula that we can fall back on as like a discussion point about them. Let's see here. Season 1 of Voyager was pretty tight, and most of the characters had something to them. That one episode with Tuvok betraying Janeway's trust is a great example of what was good in that season. I still remember Eye of the Needle in Voyager Season 1. That was a good concept for that. To talk to the Romulan through the time portal and realize that he's in the past or whatever.
Yep, that's a good one.
COVID.
Respect.
Still out there. How... I don't know about you, Clay, but me and Amy always have. Are people still testing for COVID for some reason out there?
I think some of them do when they get sick.
Yeah, why? I guess would be my question.
I don't know, because the last thing I heard was at San Diego Comic-Con, there was something going around that there was someone who tested positive for COVID and then went to the show anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then infected a whole bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I guess it comes down to whether or not you still care about infecting people or not.
Yeah, but that, like, those people, it's not just being sick and testing that you're sick. Like, so those people it's acceptable for those people to get like RSV or the flu and go, is kind of like that. That's kind of the counters to be like, you're sick, right? Like maybe it's not a good idea for you to go.
Right. If I had the regular flu, I probably wouldn't go to Comic-Con for the same reasons.
Yeah. I just from our experience with a kid, like if I tested positive for RSV, I wouldn't go anywhere that anyone could get RSV from.
Right.
But it's like, I find that the testing no longer serves the purpose of like large scale prevention. So it's like, you're sick, just don't do the thing that you're sick with. Did subscriptions increase during COVID? Probably. I think everyone went up.
Yeah, probably.
I think everyone went up because you didn't have anything else to do.
Once all you people got your lives back,
the money
numbers went way down.
I'm gonna have to show my breastises on this live stream to get some numbers back here.
I was just going to introduce a new virus.
Oh, that's fair. That's the problem. The Clayhan Institute of Virology over here is just spreading stuff. Norman Buckle says, on a separate question, which character do you think is the most overrated in the entire Trek franchise?
Good question.
Overrated is Miles O'Brien.
Sure.
He's my pick.
I could see that. Yeah, I think that's probably true, because I feel like he's a cult favorite. I think
he's a cult favorite, and I don't think his work on DS9 elevated his sort of like beloved guest character on TNG thing.
Yeah. What about main characters?
Oh, he's main on DS9. Does that not count?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess that counts. I just always consider him as a
side
unnecessary, expendable character.
Of outside of him, O'Brien, another main character. It's no one from Enterprise because they're properly rated.
Yes. Although, people go to bat pretty hard for Archer, I think, and I think Archer is nothing great to write home about.
No, if anyone does go, I would say definitely not. TNG, I think everyone at TNG is properly rated. DS9, I think is properly, at least not in terms of overrated, is fine. Voyager, maybe Janeway.
I was thinking that too. Yeah.
It's either Janeway or possibly the Doctor could be considered slightly overrated. Even though I like the Doctor, he might be overrated. Yeah, what do you think? And then I have a question after that, actually.
Yeah, Voyager probably Janeway. Although I don't know, because I mean, this deep into Voyager, she's kind of like one of the only interesting people on the show.
Yeah. And I wouldn't
Um,
say she's crazily praised. I think that there's a
yeah, I think Janeway probably has more pushback against her than most of the other captains do.
yeah, I think so. Fairly too.
Yeah.
I think it's not I view her very similar to Archer. They feel like the
Yeah.
same kind of character.
Yeah. Honestly, this might be sacrilegious, but if we're talking like big name characters, I might say Captain Kirk is a little overrated. At least the TOS version of Kirk, from what I remember, because like I thought he was good on the show. I think he's better in the movies. I think they really figured him out once they got to the movies. But as I think he works best in the show in that trio.
Yeah.
But as like just a standalone character, I don't know. He's fine.
Yeah, Kirk
Iconic for being the first,
Yeah, he's iconic for being the first. He only had a couple, like he wasn't asked to do a lot, and it's rare that you get a Kirk episode. We did one that I'm not remembering, but there was one episode we did recently where we both did the rewatch and we're kind of surprised that it felt very unusual for a TOS episode to like question Kirk in the way that it was doing. It was about his I think it was the ultimate computer, where his job is potentially being replaced by the computer, and he's kind of like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do if I can't be a captain? And it was like, oh, they've never really pushed this character in this way on the show, so it's just rare that it happens.
Now we're all dealing with the ultimate computer.
I know, we're all James T. Kirk sweating here. Although, yeah, there's all the talk in the news about and we were just talking about not embarrassing ourselves with current day talk. Is the AI thing a bubble at this point? Is it just too early still?
I think so. I think it had a big explosion, big splash, but I don't think it's there yet for replacing people wholesale. I think it probably will in a lot of places.
Yeah.
But I mean, what is it? I saw somewhere like ChatGPT costs like $80 million or something to run. It's like losing a bunch of money because it costs so much to run and stuff.
Yeah. It takes a lot of like it yeah, and I went through its sort of learning phase with people where like when it came out, people had that weird thing. They're like, you can ask it anything and it knows everything. And it's like, well, after you play with it for an hour, you're like, well, it clearly doesn't. That's not what it's supposed to do. It's just good. It's just good at generating text. For you.
You know what it's terrible at? Giving you episode breakdowns of Batman Beyond episodes.
Yeah, it can't do it for Deadwood. It gets everything wrong about Deadwood. It can do Star Trek, interestingly. If you just say, give me a summary of this episode, it can do it for Star Trek, but not any other show. And that's what I used it for. But really, I just use it for text generation for the podcast of stuff. And even then, to put it in a place where I'm like, this is okay, I have to work with it for a little while. It's not a huge time saver where I can just say, give me a podcast blurb about The Visitor, and it does it for me. I have to correct it, say, no, do this, mention this, do this thing. And at a certain point, you're maybe just saving 50% of your time. It still takes you half the time to get it to do it the right thing.
I do it for Rotten Horror and for Badass. And Rotten Horror, it's pretty tight. Like it, I've actually found it's better. I started feeding my prompts and telling it to give me 300-word introductions in character, basically. So one of them was for Alien. I think I did a maiden from the 1800s a coy woman from the 1800s who's secretly in love with the xenomorph. And it was pretty good. It hit all the beats I needed it to hit, and did it with a satisfying character. So,
will this be available to watch later? This should be. I don't take any of that stuff down. I won't take it down and monetize it and put it behind Patreon.
It's gonna cost you lots of money.
Space Above and Beyond was a 90s sci-fi show after the X-Files. Okay. Yeah, everyone's just reminding me of the 7th. So we'll move on from that. Is Picard getting hit by a car the funniest thing Modern Chuck has done? It's pretty funny. Yeah. Him getting blown up the first season is also kind of funny, but less iconic. Same thing happened with Final Fantasy 14 Fest in Las Vegas, a huge outbreak.
Really?
COVID is here, so we're going to get sick. It's just, before COVID had a name, people just people called it convention croup or whatever the fuck. They had that term for it where you just get sick at these things because people are sick. And it's like the bar, now that we're older, we don't go to bars anymore, but you just like, the bar is just people, they have those famous things that came out during COVID where it like shows how much you expel when you're talking, basically, to show you like particle spray. Yeah. But like a bar is just people spitting all over each other constantly. And you're just like, this is you getting sick.
Yeah.
Test our guy. Lore maybe as an overrated character. Do people like Lore? Is there a big Lore? I agree that Lore sucks, but I don't think there's a big Lore pro fandom for him. Lore was never all that. He wasn't compelling. No. Tess from Voyager. Who's Tess?
Does you mean Cass? Maybe
Cass. Yeah. Maybe. She's not overrated.
No.
Yeah. No one talks about her. Michael Burnham is overrated. I feel that there's enough people who hate Burnham. I don't know
if she's overrated, but she's overpowered, I would say.
She's overpowered, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think there's an equal split that hate her. So yeah, I don't think it can be. Most overrated is DePaul.
I don't know about that. I like DePaul.
Yeah, not one of my favorite characters. I guess I need to have a character who's like the fans are like wearing shirts of and stuff like that.
I'm thinking like if you make a list, they're in the top 10.
Top 10. Yeah.
And you look at that and you go, what? One of those people.
Yeah. Disagrees about the Doctor. It might be Crusher's a good answer, actually.
Good TNG. Yeah.
She's not super. I think so the scale here is like you have your two poles. I think Crusher is a very bad character, but I don't know if she's beloved enough to put her onto that list, really,
Yeah, right.
Because Troy is more beloved, but I think Troy is a better character than Crusher, too. So it cancels it out. If anything, Janeway gets criticized a lot, and as the captain, some fans love psychoanalyzing to prove that she is a bad character. Can I ask Stable Diffusion to draw me a She-Hulk comic in the style of Clay McCormick yet?
It might be the only way you get one, because I can't do that because I don't work for Marvel currently. Maybe one day, I hope.
Well, of course, it knows Star Trek, ChatGPT. Oh, yeah, ChatGPT. ChatGPT will get something wrong and then lie to cover up its mistake, which is the flop and choose 2001. It's just like every person, too.
I've never maybe the next one I'll try to do a Batman Beyond, and when it screws up the episode, I'll confront it and see how it responds.
And videotape yourself doing the same thing. Since Solo isn't happening, would you be interested in doing an Andor watch-along podcast? It's a really good show, and the other Star Wars shows are horrible for podcasts. Nothing to say.
Yeah.
You watched Andor. I didn't see Andor.
Andor was great. Andor was legitimately good. I mean, if the people demand it, sure, but...
How many episodes is Andor? 6? Say 6.
I think it's 6, yeah.
That's a bearable amount.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot that I would... Oh, sorry. We'll come back to it. I can't let you do that, Clay. What aspect of classic Treks do you miss the most in the newer stuff? I really tried to like Strange New Worlds, and while there was definitely some quality to be found in that show, I just can't, and he continues, get over how the characters behave like entitled brats in situations where they should act professional. I feel like I'm watching millennials in space instead of a competent Starfleet officer.
That is the weirdest thing about the modern shows, is that you don't get the sense that they are in a naval organization at all. Yeah. Like it is, I don't think it's the end of the world, but it is different. It doesn't feel like Star Trek in that way. They try to correct that in other avenues, but like, I feel like they're missing so much of the core of what makes Star Trek by having these characters act this way, that it's tough. Like, it's, people like it. That's fine. I mean, I like Strange New Worlds fine enough, but you got to go into it knowing that it's not going to be the same vibe.
Yeah, I would just following along on the Discord conversation about Strange New Worlds and not having watched any of it. It seems like this season is a big step in this direction. Someone was saying that like at least 3 of the episodes so far have been sort of like musical gimmick, not all musicals, but like gimmick episodes that are sort of silly.
You know, the thing that's interesting, right? If you go back and you look at TNG, any of them really, Enterprise and Voyager maybe less so, but TOS definitely, TNG definitely, Deep Space Nine definitely. You never really got the sense that any of the people on these ships cared if anybody else liked them.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the modern shows just have this weird thing where it's like everybody interacts with everybody else as though they need to be liked by everybody. Like Pike doesn't feel, he feels like he's trying to be he feels like the cool dean.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like come over to his place and rap with him,
cook some eggs.
Yeah. It's I don't know. It's weird. I wish there was, because, you know, like we've always said, the thing that makes these shows the best of these shows good is that all of the characters have clearly defined character traits and points of view. So when you put them at odds with each other, those things create drama of the show.
Yeah.
I don't really feel like you get that from the new shows.
Yeah. Yeah, because we were having a sort of one of those weird conversations on the Discord where the definition of what you're talking about becomes hazy. So like we were talking about arcs for characters, and it's like it sort of becomes hazy about what you're talking about with an arc, because I would say that a lot of the TNG characters did not have an arc, really. Like they kind of remained the same character that they were the entire way through the entire series. But what it goes to show is that if you define them strongly enough, they actually don't need an arc, because you can sort of come up with stories that their personalities fit into, and it gives you enough material to like generate these stories just because you're plugging in different personality types.
Right.
And so what's annoying about something like Voyager, I was thinking about it, is that Voyager does not have arcs that you would expect from a kind of like modern developing show, where they'd start to do a DS9 story. Voyager's not going to do that. But Voyager also does not have strongly defined characters that allow you to do TNG stories effectively, because they're just not good enough of characters. So you're stuck in this awkward middle ground, and it's like, this is kind of why Voyager feels so slow all the time. And Enterprise, I think, suffered from the same thing, even to a worse degree, where the characters were just so flat that you're like, this sucks. Like there's no drive to any of these stories.
Yeah. And you know, I think Voyager starts the downfall towards this with Shefuk and the sex
Valley
heat
Valley,
holodeck program, because it's like, you know, I on Voyager I get it, because they're stuck out there and you want to hang out or whatever. But like if you compare that to 10 Forward, 10 Forward was like, you went there for a drink, but you weren't all just like hanging out together. There was a whole shitload of other people there.
Yeah.
You know, it was like Riker having a drink with Troy, and then third person would come in and he'd just like leave.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't everybody just hanging out. And it more and more after Voyager feels like just a bunch of people hanging out.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. No one's got anything to do. Convention crud. That is the name of the word. I think Clay corrected me too on that. Laura was just fun to watch Spina go ham, but not great. I assume he means no, he's not great. Crusher is the worst doctor out of the shows. Even Pulaski was more interesting because she had an arc. There goes the arc conversation.
The arc in that she was brought in at the beginning of the second season and then kicked off the show.
She was bigoted towards androids. She's like, that's you true. Fucking tin can piece of shit.
Yeah.
And then Data made her cry.
You know, what's funny is if you watch TNG, I think you're right, where a lot of them don't have quote unquote an arc, but I do think they become the sum of their stories.
Yes.
And so like Picard at the end of TNG, like All Good Things is basically all about how Picard has been affected by his life on the ship.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I would agree with that. Like characters because my example was Tony Soprano. Tony Soprano does not change across the Sopranos show, but like the experience, and there's even an argument that like the therapy he undergoes in the show makes him more effective at being the sociopath that he is throughout the show. And so it's like there's no need, like I don't think you need a character to change dramatically. You just have to show effectively what this person's personality means in this universe for them. And Picard is a good example. It's just like as the performance settles in and as the writing settles down, what this character becomes is kind of the learning process of himself and what the show is saying about him.
Yeah.
Compared to someone like, I think that Worf and Data had traditional arcs in that sense.
Definitely.
Like there was a development of them across storylines and stuff like that. But the other characters didn't need it.
I think TNG is a little unique as well because, weirdly enough, Roddenberry's thing was he didn't want personal drama. He wanted very sterile kind of characters just dealing with situations, and the byproduct of that and doing 7 seasons of that is that these characters end up becoming more like the actors who are playing them.
Yeah.
And as that seeps in, that reads as character development.
Yeah. Agreed.
Which is really fascinating because like that doesn't happen on Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine has like stories and character arcs and stuff like that.
There's no room for it. Yeah.
Yeah. But having a show where the whole point is let's try not to make these characters human or emotional, and then by the end they just start becoming that way and changing because you've got the different elements of the people who play them sneaking in. It's very fascinating.
Riker is a good example.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
So I always wanted to. We haven't done all the shows yet, so it's hard to do. But I always wanted to do a power ranking of the positions on the ship. Mm-hmm. What do you think is the worst rank, like position wise? So like doctor, captain, et cetera, in terms of the characters that make up that bucket. Like if you had to draft a Star Trek team, what's the position that you're like, I either need to get the only good person in this one, or I'm not interested at all in drafting this position, and I'm willing to give it up?
Engineering.
You think the engineer is the weakest crew? So it's like Geordi, Trip, B'Elanna, Scotty, O'Brien. Engineer's pretty bad. I think Doctor's pretty bad, except for Bones too.
Bones, Doctor,
Phlox, Crusher, Pulaski, Bashir.
That's some interesting stuff.
Engineer's probably worse than Doctor, I think. Yeah, it probably is Engineer, isn't it? That's funny. I wonder why.
Who's the best engineer? I assume Scotty, right? I mean, who else from that group that has anything interesting about them?
It might be Trip for me, actually.
Trip, yeah, okay,
yeah. I don't really like Scotty. He just seems like he's a Scottish.
Oh, sure.
Like,
I mean, yeah, basically.
Yeah, it might.
He has a Scottish accent and he lies about how long stuff takes.
It might be Trip for me. Out of that pile of not very good stuff, I think in a draft someone would be like, "Oh, nice dark horse pick there with Trip coming out of it." But everyone else is not enjoyable on it because the Stamets. Who's the engineer in Strange New Worlds?
Well, Stamets is he is
Discovery.
He is the engineer. I forgot. I forget his husband is the doctor. That's right.
Yes. Yeah.
Strange New Worlds. The engineer is
the blind Andorian,
the
right?
blue guy who died. Yeah, I forget who. I don't know who takes over for him. I don't know.
Yep. What's the most loaded position?
Most loaded position.
It's probably captain.
It's got to be captain.
Yeah, it's got to be captain. What'd you think of Red Letter Media's reviews of the Next Generation films? I think they're good. I haven't seen them in forever.
Yeah, I remembered really liking them, but I haven't watched them in a long time.
Who's the worst sibling in Trek? Lore, Rozhenko, Ishara Yar, Sybok, Sam Kirk? Lore, probably. Not a lot of good siblings, though, obviously, from your list. I don't even remember half these people.
At least Lore has like...
Andor's 12 episodes, too, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. That's right. Yeah. At least Lore has something interesting about him. Sam Kirk is
Yeah.
Nothing. Like they brought him onto Strange New Worlds, confused the hell out of me,
Yes.
and then immediately brought his more interesting brother onto the show.
Selah, yeah, just an insult to Yar. Has Star Trek blood Spock dry? I'm so tired of Spock stories. It's been over 50 years of seeing the character. Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, Star Trek is getting DC Comics disease, and I say that as someone who's employed by the company. Where DC Comics is one of their big strengths used to be the fact that 90% of their characters were legacy characters. So aside from Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman, all of your other characters had multiple people. So you had the Flash had Jay Garrick, and then he was Barry Allen, and then he was Wally West, and you pass these things down to new characters and constantly tell new stories with them. But then somewhere around the early mid 2000s, they rebooted everything and went back to the traditional like Silver Age stuff, and they've kind of been stuck there, and they don't embrace the legacy stuff as much as they used to. Like Batgirl was Barbara Gordon until she got paralyzed by the Joker, and then she turned into Oracle and opened the door for other characters to become Batgirl, and there were some great characters in there, but now she's the one everyone knows, quote unquote, so now she has to be Batgirl again, and it really kind of like really stifles what you can do story-wise. Yeah. And I think they're kind of doing that on Star Trek too, where it's like, the reason that we got Deep Space Nine was because they weren't going to go back and do more Spock and Kirk stuff.
Yeah.
But now it's, enough time has passed. We can start doing Spock and Kirk stuff again.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. So I'm just skipping ahead in the chat just because we're like, just to stay sort of relevant to what we were talking about. People are mostly agreeing that it's chief engineer.
Go to the one, Horsty's question. Curious what you would think about Picard's
Metallica one.
Song. I feel like, especially if you are counting Picard up through the new series, it has to be like Unforgiven or something.
Yeah, Unforgiven would be a good. Is that season 2? Is that the hanging one with his mother? That's season 2.
Yes.
Yeah. Season 2 is Unforgiven. Just on repeat over and over again. Favorite Metallica song?
It would have to be like one of the shittier ones, like One. I know people like I hate that song.
Like One? Yeah.
I don't know.
It'd be like Saint Anger or something for me. It's just like a horribly recorded snare drum pounding away.
His lifestyle determines his death style. What else can you say?
Yeah. His favorite Metallica song. I'm just trying to think if there's anything that ties into Picard's character. I'll have to think about it. I'll come back to it. Security. Odo is great. Who are the security guards? So it's Odo, Worf.
Excuse me.
Malcolm Reed.
You're forgetting somebody.
Who's that?
Tasha Yar, baby.
Oh, Tasha Yar. Sorry, I was going original series.
Greatest waste of potential in the entire franchise.
So Worf or Yar, Worf, Odo, Malcolm Reed, Tuvok. Ooh, Tuvok. Odo and Tuvok is a pretty decent. Worf too. Worf's a good character.
Yeah.
I won't stand for that. I think Security Guard's a pretty good one.
Yeah, it's pretty
loaded. Ship's counselor. There's only one, right? There's only Troy.
I think so. Yeah,
that's all. Transporter chief. It's just O'Brien, right? Is there another?
I feel like there's always a random guy or a
Scotty
random lady
usually
in there.
did it. It wasn't his official job title, but Scotty was always beaming people out when they needed a dramatic cast member.
That was only because Scotty wanted to brand name the phrase.
I would argue that Hugh Culber is a weaker Doctor character. What's his stance as a Doctor? Who is he other than Stamets' nice partner?
Yeah, let's not even get started on that shit.
I still think Crusher is.
Remember when they fucking killed that guy?
Yeah,
and then went into like the microverse to grow him a new body.
His mushroom body came back.
God.
Trip is my top engineer. Good to know. Hammer. Pelia. Okay. I don't know
Pelia.
Doctors have a lot of strength. Yeah, I might have been wrong about Doctor. I think the weak doctors kind of screw things up for me.
Sulu was a security chief?
No. Did someone say that?
Royo says Sulu, Tasha. There you go. I thought Sulu.
I wouldn't
fired
call
the
him
guns.
security. Yeah, I would. I say I thought Sulu piloted the ship. He's like the
pilot.
con.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Odo. Who's more of a waste, Tasha or Mayweather? Clay's gotten angry. Clay's going to storm off with you asking that question.
That's actually a tough question because Tasha didn't.
Oh, more of a waste. You mean?
Yeah,
Sure.
Tasha didn't get a chance, whereas they had 4 seasons to do something with Mayweather, and they just chose not to.
I mean, they completed Tasha by having her basically become other storyline.
Yeah.
You know, like her
Yeah.
death led to this other thing.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
why.
yesterday's Enterprise doesn't exist without her.
Kenji's excellent point here. First officer is also a very stacked position. You have
Yeah.
Riker, Kira, Chakotay, Spock.
Mm-hmm.
What am I missing? Who's after that?
Enterprise.
T'Pol.
T'Pol. Yeah,
It's a pretty good.
I guess Spock would be Strange New Worlds, right?
Yeah, Spock and Strange New Worlds and Discovery.
Oh, no,
would be
no.
Saru.
Strange New Worlds would be number 1 or number.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
what's her name?
Number one. Yeah, Saru would be,
Mhm.
I suppose, on Discovery. So he's the best character on that show. Makes it, and then I guess that's it. First officer is a pretty good. First officer might be better than captain, all the way down the line with Archer and Janeway in there.
Yeah, I think all of those characters are pretty solid, and they don't all have. I mean, if you're going to Discovery, like Michael Burnham's not that great a character.
Yeah. Oh, true. Yeah. Yeah, it might be first officer.
Yeah.
Who has the best guest actor appearance? That's a tough question. The guy from Duet is outstanding.
Yeah.
Harris
Yulin. Yeah.
Yulin. Yeah.
Does Andy Robinson count as a guest, or are we talking like one-off?
Oh,
Garrick.
that's a good question. I would count him. It's probably that would be a Gold Ducat. Marco Lamo would count at that point too, I think.
I think Tony Todd.
Yeah.
Up there.
Yep.
Because he figured out how to act through those teeth, which was nice. Oh, I mean, obviously, what's his name? Reanimator. Jeffrey Combs.
Oh, Combs. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Well,
I'm still mad that he wasn't the villain in season 3 of Picard. That would have been such a layup. That would have been fantastic.
As another Vorta, you mean, right? Like
no, as the character that fucking Amanda Plummer played. Just they look identical. You could.
Oh, I see. I could, knowing that they're changelings.
Oh,
there
that's
was there's no reason to not have a Vorta.
Yeah,
be there.
That would have been great. A lot of things done differently.
Oh man,
would have been great.
I don't think we ever talked. Maybe we talked about that on the show, and I'm just blanking. But how could you not do that? It's because they didn't want to spoil that they were changelings, so they had them wear fucking sex party masks and stand around in cloaks. Who's the best ship's cook, guide, morale officer?
Well, I think the best cook is probably Enterprise.
Yes, that's true. The chef. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. He really likes the guy who played the Romulan defector. Yes, whose name he's in a bunch of Star Trek. I can't remember what his name is though, unfortunately. The dad from 70s Show is a good guest star. We haven't gotten to him yet.
Well, he was in Star Trek 6.
Oh, that's right. He's an admiral.
He was the Klingon. No, he's the Klingon ambassador or some shit. The one who's going to get assassinated in Star Trek 6.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Kurtwood Smith.
It's funny how Lower Decks' characters don't come up much, even though it's the best of the new Trek shows. Are we unfair to the Lower Decks characters?
I think it's just I don't. I think it's just it's not. I don't immediately consider it canon, or that's not the word I want to use, but you know what I mean. Like it's
it just doesn't fit in with the rest of it. James Sloyan, yes, is the Romulan. He played a bunch of characters in it. He was president of the Federation in Star Trek 6. Yeah, that's right. I remember now, so I can go back here, see if there's any other. Did I miss anything? I'm sorry if I missed your comments. If I skipped it, you can just type it again while we're going around here. This light keeps flickering in this room. It's like driving me nuts.
Best celebrity guest star. Next one down. That's
Iggy Pop was underrated.
That's definitely Mick Fleetwood.
Mick Fleetwood.
Yeah.
There's probably a Rushmore of rock stars on Star Trek that we could come up with. So it's like Iggy Pop, Mick Fleetwood. There must be someone else.
Is that it?
No, there must be somebody else. Tom Morello is in Voyager.
We clearly haven't gotten to that yet.
Yeah, we haven't. I think he just plays a background extra or something.
That's
yeah.
One of my favorite things about Star Trek is there's all those guest stars that are just like, yeah, this is the episode with Susanna Hoffs in it. It's like, what? The lead singer from the Bangles plays an ambassador in this one?
No, they're just walking around outside in L.A.
Oh, yeah, Dwayne Johnson. I do know that The Rock shows up.
Yes. One in the 6th season of Voyager. Oh, for a guest star. I guess we're still talking about guest stars. Yeah. We'll see how that... He wrestles 7, not to spoil anything. But would you guys ever do a Farscape podcast? Probably not.
Yeah, it's so years ago, I was looking for a new show to watch, and I was aware of Farscape. I knew Farscape as the show that was always on at like 1 a.m. on the Sci-Fi Channel that seemed really boring.
Mm-hmm.
And I came across Farscape, and it had like 10s across the board on IMDb. Like every season was a 10. People in the think like this is the best sci-fi show that's ever been made. I tried my damnedest to watch that show, and it just bored the fuck out of me. I just couldn't do it. And I love Muppets.
Yeah. Some Muppets just... DS9 should have gotten Henry Rollins as a Cardassian.
Speaking of Muppets, you know what's a good sci-fi show? Not really, but sort of. There's a show on Disney Plus called... What's the name of... What? Ned? Is that just the name of the show? I think it's called Ned. And it's a talk show, like a classic late night talk show format, but the host is this giant alien puppet.
Yep.
It's fantastic. I highly recommend it. They only made 1 season. I've been waiting for a 2nd season, but I'm assuming COVID probably derailed it or killed it or something.
Yeah, George Costanza shows up in a Voyager episode eventually.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. So I'm very excited for that. The King of Jordan was in Voyager.
Mm-hmm.
I've been
top 10 worst Star Trek guests.
Yeah.
Brian Singer at the top of that one.
I've been rewatching TNG and randomly found your podcast. Yours was the first podcast I found that didn't want me to choke the host for needless, pointless nitpicking.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah,
all of our nitpicking is 100% warranted.
I was trying to scan your comment for like a typo that I could pick on, but I didn't see anything.
I like that name. I like the conspiracy that Puffy killed Tupac. I had years ago. I had facetiously formed this my own conspiracy theory that it was actually Mace who killed Notorious B.I.G.
Yeah,
because shortly after that, what was the thing that made I feel like Puffy hired Mace to kill Biggie, and then his reward for that was getting the featured verse on Mo Money Mo Problems.
Yeah,
and then what happened after that? Mace kind of disappeared. And then only reappeared as like a born again Christian character, and so clearly the guilt got to him.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It would make sense. It would explain Mace's rise and fall. Pretty quick one. I was listening to I don't listen to a lot of hip hop, but I was listening to the Wu-Tang's first album. It's a good album. That's a solid classic album right there.
Hot takes.
All music 5 out of 5.
Lex is another one of those shows down there on under Point.
Lex is better than Farscape.
That's another show where it's like I never watched it, but it was always just on Sci-Fi Channel, like when I woke up in the middle of the night and left the TV on. Don't know anything about it. Never bothered to watch it. Yeah.
Don't care to. It's funny because Farscape does a really good job of having a villain in the head of the main character, which Picard tried to do with the Borg Queen. Season 1 of Farscape isn't great
because they're puppets and there's a hand in there.
Yeah, you're inside me now. Worst guest act celebrity appearance is Padma Lakshmi in Enterprise. Yeah, that was a bad episode.
Could you refresh my memory?
It's the one where Trip has to go down in like a shuttle with her. She's being like transported in a stasis pod for some reason.
Does she not speak English? Is that the deal?
She has to learn it or something.
I can't remember.
Yeah, it's just her and Trip sort of awkwardly bumbling around in a shuttle is what I mostly remember from it. Let me see here. If we were to reboot a pre-disco Star Trek series, would you choose... It would be Voyager. Again.
Yeah, it's 100%.
DS9 was done well. TNG is fine.
Honestly,
TOS is
close
fine.
close second, I would say Enterprise. I think Enterprise has a lot of upside that they didn't really get into. I think they
Yes.
get into. I think they do more with Enterprise than they do with Voyager, though. At least up as far as we've been watching it.
I would agree. I think you can go places with Voyager. The Enterprise is a little bit more limited in it. I really like the fact that Voyager is just disconnected from the main franchise, for better for worse, and you can go off and do something. Yeah, it would be Voyager for me. Farscape was fantastic, but I think there's a Battlestar podcast. I like a Battlestar podcast. I just got here. I have to say I'm loving the Deadwood podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.
I also like Deadwood. The chick was hot. Which one? My father's always been a fan of TV shows with boobs and spaceships. Always a massive fan of Lex. Yeah.
Well, I mean, now maybe we should do a podcast. It sounds like a great show.
I know this maybe this explains all the tens. That the George Carlin bit. I never had sex with a 10, but one night I had sex with 2 5s, and I think that should count for something. The worst guest star was Jack Ruby's lawyer who wore a muumuu in the children's show. Oh, right. Yes, that's right. Jack Ruby's lawyer. Yeah. We watched that episode, I think.
Sure.
Sorry. Any opinion about the music? No, I don't really. Besides, Goldsmith's theme is iconic, but I don't have any thoughts outside of that, really.
The soundtrack for the motion picture is top to bottom great.
Early TNG had better music than it did later. The Best of Both Worlds has a really good soundtrack, and I think that's when things changed. They had that like eerie hum for the waiting for the Borg to show up.
Sure.
That was good.
I just recently bought Star Trek 3. I found it cheap on vinyl. Star Trek 3 was pretty good, the soundtrack, but I think 2 is a little better. Wrath of Khan's pretty great.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think I remember saying this when we were doing the movies. You can tell which movies are going to be good by whether or not the music, like the opening theme, is any good.
Yeah.
And they aren't great towards the end.
TNG stopped playing synths after season. Yeah, because they would be synths that were doing that. First opening, DS9 opening is better than the second opening song. I think I like this. It's been so long, I can't remember. I think you might be. Yes, I think that's correct. I think I like the first one better. The first one is more somber, less bombastic. I like the bombastic version too. I still think DS9 is my favorite theme song. Voyager is a close contender. It's just Voyager's not the show that DS9 was. Season 4 of Voyager is great. You will both enjoy it, and it's much improved from season 3. Let's hope so. Season 3 of Voyager, I feel like we've been watching it for 5 of the 10 years of this podcast that we've been going through here. This is taking a tremendous amount of time to get through.
It's kind of funny because, I think it's because of Picard.
Yes, we stopped to watch Picard. Yeah,
but it also to a lesser extent Deadwood, because we used to do 2 a week, and now we only do 1 a week.
It's true. Did we decide to do Deadwood in season 3 of Voyager? That would be interesting. That would mean that did we bring it up during season 3 of Voyager?
We brought it up during season 3 of Picard, so
must have been. It would have to be. Yeah,
I can't remember when we started season 3 of Voyager.
What is the plan for the podcast when you completely finished all pre-disco Trek? Do you have any concrete ideas? So it's Voyager and TAS are the only 2 that are pre-disco at this point, right? Yes,
that we haven't done.
Yeah. No, my only thing I would do the TAS ones just to say whether we did it. I don't have any plans after that. I really don't like the modern Trek shows at all. I know that people want us to talk about them, but I find them. What does Martha Bullock say? I find this repugnant. You repel me. I find you repugnant is what I feel like I want to say to those shows. So no, I don't have any plans. We still have like 2 years of Voyager left.
Yeah.
So that's the plan. I unironically like Faith of the Heart.
Great.
We're just gonna have to stop. The hottest of takes. Wait a minute. Goes without saying, nothing beats Enterprise theme. It's not even fair to compare them. Music is subjective, as they say. You listening to any interesting music right now, Clay? Not Star Trek related, but anything interesting?
I just listened to Planet of the Bass by DJ Crazy Times and Biljana Electronica today, which was great. Are you aware of this?
No, I think I saw a picture of it or something. Right? Did you post something about it?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's this comedian on TikTok and stuff made this very catchy viral send up of 90s like European dance music. And you released the full version video today, which was very good.
Nice.
Incredibly catchy.
Voyager has a good melody. I never thought I would like the Enterprise opening song until they changed it. It's all these people coming out of the woodwork to clamor for Enterprise's theme song. I think you've been drinking. If Data was real, Team Maddox or Team Picard, Data is my second favorite character, and I accept his magical sentience. But in reality, Data is just pre-programmed responses dressed up as a person. We're all pre-programmed responses.
Ask us in 6 years when we actually have this brought before Congress in some form.
Yeah, I'm Team Picard. I mean, it is interesting. You can never get to the point of understanding the sentience of something, I suppose. It is the Turing test. Although, like, the Turing test was simple enough where he thought a computer would be sentient if you could talk to it and it could respond back to you in a way that you thought, oh, this is a person typing back to me. Chat GPT is there, but you can still see it. You still like recognize it. Mostly through what we're like the logic mistakes that ChatGPT will make, and like a person wouldn't make. Even if a person was wrong, they wouldn't try to like defend their wrongness in the way that ChatGPT does. But no, I think I would have to. I couldn't be Maddox. I think I would have to fall on Team Picard. Data just seems like Data's aware of himself in a way that makes for him to be or is righteous to keep him ticking. They fired Ron Jones around season 4. The music was too noticeable. I'm excited to hear your opinions on 7 of 9 in Voyager after seeing her in Picard. Completely different portrayals.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too, because I have no bearing on her as a character outside of Picard.
Yeah. Once 7 of 9 gets there, it picks up in quality. She's not just hot, but a great character, and nothing like she was in season 1 of Picard. Yeah. Although the downside is that people say once she shows up, the show really just gets into this is a show of 3 characters at this point.
Sure. Honestly, like, I'm kind of open to it, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
cut out the dead weights, just get rid of
I mean, I would love it if they kept everybody involved, but it's like they don't seem to be interested in doing that. So if bringing in 7 and focusing the show, wait, who's the third one?
Dr. Janeway 7.
Okay. Yeah, well, be nice if Torres had something to do, but
no, I don't think she's ever going to have anything to do.
It's too bad.
Yeah,
but again, I mean, if it allows them some sort of focus and they're interested in telling stories, fine, let's do it.
Yeah,
go for it.
After Star Trek is done, will I go back to Spelunky and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire content? Yes, I will. And I will do a hating the novels of Star Trek.
Is that that's your retiring to the grape vineyard?
Yeah, the novels one or the Spelunky. The novels Spelunky one was terrible. Those Star Trek books are fucking awful. They're so bad. I've been reading a lot more for Goodreads, and the not for Goodreads, but just like tracking my progress. And I'm sort of doing 25 books a year.
Wow.
And the thing that happens is once you start reading, you're like, there's a lot of fucking terrible books. you sort of think of books as like being a higher level of something, but a lot of books are just like, what is this? This is who wrote this? And all the Star Trek books are that way. It's like, who did this? why did this sell so much?
Yeah, I've been reading a lot. This past year I might have read more. This might be my biggest year of reading, full stop, in my life.
Yeah, sure.
I've been burning through audiobooks, and on top of that, I've been reading some other hard copy books.
Yeah.
It's taking in a lot of stuff and remembering none of it.
I use the Goodreads system, and I really like, not Goodreads. It's Readwise. I use Readwise, and I highly recommend anyone who reads and wants to remember things use Readwise.
What is that?
It's it's basically sort of a note functionality, and it really only works well with Kindle ideas. So it's like when you highlight something in your Kindle, it automatically sends the Readwise app connects to your Kindle account, and it imports the notes and the highlights, and it sends it to like your note app. So I use Evernote, and it stores everything, but it also sends you a daily email where it randomly selects 5 of your highlights. And so when you get your email, you read it quickly in the morning, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that book talking about that. And it's a good way to not just immediately forget about what you've read, like just it sort of recirculates it in your brain.
I was going to say, you highlight it, sends it to this app, and then you never look at it ever again.
No, right. Yeah. It sends you the emails. And if you I always think like I missed out on it because this is the kind of thing that would have made so much of writing in high school and college much easier, to have the note import itself to my computer and be like, oh, I can just copy paste it and I can search for it. But it came too late, but it's still very useful for what I use it for nowadays. But also, when you find a good book, there is nothing quite like a good book, like a great book, I guess. Yeah. It's like, you're like, oh, this could only have been done this way. And there's been a couple of them this year.
I have noticed that I don't read a ton of fiction.
I don't either.
At least not fiction that would be hard to digest anyway. You know, I like Stephen King, and because they're long and I can listen to them on the audiobook for a long time. I read a short crime novel from a French writer that was written in like 1971 or 72 or something. And I made my way through it pretty quick. And I was like, yeah, that was fine. I enjoyed that. And then all the stuff I was reading was like, this completely changed the face of the genre, his use of the politics of the time. And I'm like, is this one of those books where I just don't get it because I'm not aware of the political strife in France in the early 70s? Because like there were parts where I'm reading it and I'm going, in my head, I'm going, I think this is supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the joke is.
There's the blog called Wait But Why, I think is the name of the blog, but he did something that I thought was kind of similar, which is that he's like, people asked him for his favorite movie, and he's like, this is too difficult. I'll give you a whole bunch of categories of like various movies that I make up a category and I put the movie in. So it's like a movie that I'll always remember because X happened or something. He says something, but one of them was, it was like movies that the first time I saw it, I took deathly serious and thought that it was like a very like profound, serious movie, only to watch it with people the second time and they all laughed at it and I realized it was a comedy.
Yes.
You know, it's like, it's that kind of a thing. His example was American Psycho for that.
Oh,
Yeah, like not realizing that it's actually kind of satirical. But yeah, that's... There is always that thing. So did the opinion of the book change for you after that?
You know, it's weird.
Think it's just fine.
I was thinking, I think it's fine. I actually was thinking about reading it again because it was a pretty quick read. And when I got to the end, I had a better handle on all the characters and like what they were doing and stuff. And I thought that, okay, maybe if I go back and read through it again, it'll congeal a little bit better.
This guy likes you.
The satire thing. Oh, sorry. The satire thing always bugs me because I feel like I got so mad in like the 6th or 7th grade or whenever, when you're going through the classics and they're like, all right, we're reading Gulliver's Travels, which is a masterpiece of satire. And it's like, well, I don't know what the fucking joke on Louis the 14th was here. You know, like it's going to take you longer to explain it. I'm still not going to appreciate it. What the fuck are we reading this for?
No, yeah, it's a good. I'm always pro updating those lists just because 18th century satire doesn't particularly age very well.
That being said, I did recently read Barry Lyndon, and I thought that was pretty good. That read pretty well still. That was pretty funny because have you seen the movie?
Yes.
So it's different from the movie because the book is entirely it's told in the first person from Barry Lyndon.
Yep.
And it's basically following him through his life and him being a fairly unreliable narrator about how great he is at everything.
Yep.
And so all of his interactions, a lot of the people are talking about him as the biggest piece of shit in the world, but he talks about himself as though he's like the greatest.
Mhm.
And so it's pretty easy to click into, and it's a pretty good read.
My books of the year, just because I pulled up my list, is Chip War by Chris Miller, which is about the politics of manufacturing computer chips, which is fascinating.
Thank you, by the way, to the person who said I was their favorite guest.
Man from the Train, which was a Bill James book about serial killer.
I found that on my list, and I couldn't remember why it was there, and I do remember now because you were talking about it.
Because I was talking about it. And then I think my book of the year is The Wager from David Gran, which just came out. It was about a collection of English warships set out to steal gold from the Spanish galleon, like to set across the sea into the New World and steal gold. And the ship wrecked off the coast of South America. And two separate parties, a few of them made it back to England. They basically rowed a boat back to England from South America. And the book is fantastic. I think it's my book of the year. It was really good. Let's move on.
Can you go up? There was.
Oh, sorry. Do you see me scrolling through the comments?
Oh no. I where are you in the comments?
I'm looking at Poindexter G. Chance that data.
What's the time next to it?
Oh, sorry. We're like 9:47.
Okay, keep going.
Go down.
Yeah,
towards later.
Yeah, I was looking at a couple from around
gotcha.
9:50, but do whatever you want.
Torres and Tom get stuff to do. A show about 3 characters would be better than a show about no characters. Yes.
Fair.
They give B'Elanna something to do, Tom.
Ah, really?
Are there any Star Trek directors who stand out to you as particularly strong? Roxanne Dawson is very good. I don't remember.
Frakes, obviously.
Yeah, Frakes is good. I think someone like Livingston was very good. He was a producer. David Livingston. He was a producer who did a bunch of them. I think they were all very good.
That last episode that Bobby Dunks directed was pretty good.
Yeah, I think Bobby Dunks will settle in. Stewart is one of the worst directors.
He's bad. Mm-hmm.
I have a friend who swears by the TNG X-Men crossover books. He says they're great. He's begged me to read them, and I just can't.
I'm sure they're great.
Willow and Oz versus Xander and Cordelia and Willow and Tara.
That's tough. This is a Buffy question, by the way. I think that they all served their purpose really well. I think the Cordelia and Xander relationship was so out of left field that it had only made sense for it to end horribly. I liked Willow and Oz, but I think once they got to the end of high school, they didn't really have much for them to do, so it made sense that they kind of sent in their separate ways. And I always liked Willow and Tara. Tara, I think, is kind of a nothing character. She really doesn't get much to do on that show. But I think she is better. She makes Willow a better character more than she is a good character on her own. Let's put it that way. Yeah. You one of like 5 people who love Barry Lyndon. Can you do the one that was under the Willow question about Secret Invasion?
Yeah, recently Secret Invasion came out and it was fairly maligned, and it's just been stacked in the pile of how Disney Plus Marvel shows are bad. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I have watched all of them up to this point, and I would say the only ones that have stood out to me are WandaVision for what it was trying to do, regardless of whether or not they landed the plane. I thought Hawkeye was great. Hawkeye might be my favorite one, weirdly enough. Ms. Marvel, I thought was fantastic, even though they tried to do too much in the back half of the season. But like that Ms. Marvel is a show that you could, I think, on regular TV run for multiple seasons, and it would be really, really great. But then there's all these other ones, like Moon Knight was fine. Falcon and Winter Soldier was fine, kind of hamstrung. Had some interesting stuff in it, hamstrung by COVID and whatnot. I know there's one that I'm forgetting, but Secret Invasion, yeah, I don't. That's the first one that I don't know who that was made for, because I was watching the first episode and I found myself thinking, man, I wish this Marvel superhero show had more superheroes in it. And that's just not what it's made. That show is
Yep.
made to be like this political, thriller,
Yeah.
but they don't really take too interesting of a tack on it. And by the end of it, it was like it had this terrible finale. Oh, She-Hulk. She-Hulk was good. Again, one that they were kind of trying some stuff, so I think that one stood out. But Secret Invasion, I was just watching, going like, I don't know who this is made for. It's a bunch of people in black coats standing around ruins, talking about the fate of the world and not really doing much interesting about it.
Yeah.
And then at the end of Secret Invasion, the last like 10 minutes of the show gives you a look at what would have been a better show. And it's just very frustrating because they do a bunch of stuff in the last 10 minutes where you go, man, I wish I'd watched that show. That seems really interesting. So I don't know. I think they probably just go into I think they're just doing too many of them at this point, and I don't know what the answer is, because
they're cutting back anyway.
Yeah,
right?
they're
saying this to stop producing all these Star Wars and Marvel stuff.
I'm curious which ones that they announced that are going to make it over the finish line, because like they announced Daredevil, that was supposed to be like 18 episodes, which is by far the longest thing they would have ever done, and I don't know if that's going to happen or what. But
yep. Disney's lost $11 billion on streaming. It's crazy.
Wow,
it's just a ton of money. Not a very profitable enterprise. Video Void agrees with your Buffy couples take. Point SRG liked Loki.
Loki, yes. I forgot about Loki. Loki was great. I really like Loki.
Shatner Tech bunnies are funny. I don't know if they're supposed to be.
Tech War.
And then, have you read The Three Body Problem, The Dark Forest? No, I don't read a lot of fiction. I assume that's fiction. Is that the Stephen King thing? No,
that's the Dark Tower.
Dark Tower. Sorry, I don't know what Dark Forest.
There's like 12 of those.
No. What secret? Tell us the secret. I didn't mention a secret.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's it. We caught up to the end. Everyone's dead. There's no more questions.
Xander and Cordelia I did really enjoy that relationship on the show. But I think they, on that show, they were smart with most of their relationships and how they played out and when they decided to move on and whatnot, I think Xander and Cordelia was great, and I think Xander and Anya was really good too in season 4 through 7 or whatever.
I've only been Battlestar Galactica podcast. It's on the Patreon. We did the miniseries, or whatever they call it, the first 2-parter of it. So that's on Patreon. If you're a patron, you can get it over there. If you're not, you can sign up and get it. We've been watching. The only TV show we've been watching recently is Succession. We've been slowly watching through that. That's very good. This is another late breaking newscast from me to say that the show is good, but that's very good.
Sorry, go ahead.
Brian Cox just we'll be seeing him in Deadwood, and we'll be
really excellent. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, we just finished Perry Mason, which I thought was really good.
The HBO one.
Yeah. Only
that just the first
seasons.
season? 2 seasons.
Yeah, then they canceled it. The second season, I didn't know this, but they changed showrunners, and the guy who was in charge of The Nick was the showrunner for season 2, and The Nick is fucking awesome. I would do a podcast on The Nick.
The Nick.
I don't.
One season, wasn't it? Isn't that
2.
Soderbergh?
2 seasons. Yeah. It was on fucking Cinemax, which I didn't know still existed.
Yeah.
And quietly, Steven Soderbergh on Cinemax is directing every episode of a fucking amazing period hospital drama, and like nobody saw it. And it's on HBO now, so it's easily accessible, and I highly recommend watching it because it was fucking great. Yes. Right. So I didn't mean for that to be shitty, but I kind of zoned out, but it made it look like I was being a dickhead. Yes, we did a whole podcast on The Prisoner.
Tackled the wire after Deadwood. The Deadwood has told me you can't do intense shows or at least I do not want to do intense shows one after the other one.
Mhm.
They're very difficult to discuss.
I don't know if I mean, I love The Wire. I don't know if I have what it takes to discuss The Wire, if
No,
that makes sense.
you'd really have to work to make it worth
Yeah.
listening. You'd have to do a ton of research to at least understand everything.
Righteous
Just to-
Gemstones is also very good, yes.
Oh,
But
someone
yeah.
post that. Yep.
Yeah.
Would you rather fight 100 Borg-sized cubes, Borg cube-sized Death Stars, or one Death Star-sized Borg cube?
I think either way, you're not great.
Yeah, I think you're done either way. Thanks, Brandon.
Oh,
Should be
thank you.
90 for 9 years, but I'm not that rich. No, you've been a long time patron, and we much appreciate. What are these called? Super chats? No, it's starred.
Sure.
Yeah, it is. It's because I'm not on YouTube. Yeah, it's a super chat. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Would you
Righteous
rather be hunted
hunted
by
by
Wolverine
Wolverine
or
or
the
the
Hulk? I would say the Hulk, because I feel like the Hulk would lose interest pretty fast.
You could hear him coming.
That too, yeah. You know,
You'd at least-
Wolverine, I think you're kind of fucked. But
The
Hulk,
death
I
would be
think
faster. The death would be faster with Wolverine, I'd imagine, right? Hulk would probably like pick you up and throw you.
Oh yeah, or like just tear you in half. There's a great
Yeah.
comic that came out probably 20 years ago. It was when Marvel was doing the Ultimate Universe. They did Ultimate Wolverine versus the Hulk. And the first issue of that book, it was only 2 issues, and it took like 5 years between issues for some reason. And the first issue of that book was so fucking good. And it was Wolverine hunting down the Hulk, who was living in like the Himalayan mountains or something, and had basically what he was portrayed as in Thor Ragnarok is basically being just like this god surrounded by like, you know, women and people who are paying tribute and stuff. And so he gets into a fight with Wolverine, and I think that issue ends with a double page spread of the Hulk very graphically tearing Wolverine in half at the waist. It was awesome. And then I think he throws the top half of his body like 3 miles or something.
That's what I'd be afraid of. Can't find it. Babylon 5 would be great. That's another. It's just another Star Trek.
Yeah,
show.
you know, I don't know what it is. Like that makes sense, but I don't know. I'm not really interested in it.
Yeah, I'm not interested.
Like we did the pilot, and I was open to it if the pilot really.
Oh, so this
me.
is Babylon 5. Sorry, not Battlestar. I think.
Oh yeah. No, I'm less interested.
I'm less interested in Babylon 5.
Sorry.
Although I think people bring it up because it seems it's more like Star Trek than the whatever Battlestar would be. I think New Trek era has enough franchise power to stick around for the next few years. No, it
probably not.
If it might not even be its own fault if Paramount can't figure out how to make streaming profitable, because who was the rumor? Netflix was going to buy Paramount, or they were going to sell them. They were going to sell Paramount Plus to Netflix or something like that.
Interesting.
Because I think if Disney's not making money, Paramount Plus is not making money for CBS and Paramount. But no, I don't. Discovery's over after this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Discovery ends. Strange New Worlds will end.
They've
Picard's
done. They've been threatening us with a Section 31 show for 7 years.
In the Academy show.
Yeah, and whatever they were hinting at the end of Picard as a forward-looking.
It really sucks that we live in an age of shows getting canceled and erased from the platform.
Yeah,
it can.
It
doesn't bother me too much.
I'm of two minds of it, because like the whole point of streaming, like the way that they sold you on it was, you know, if you sign up for HBO Max or whatever, you have access to everything HBO's ever made, which is awesome because HBO makes great stuff. And so to go from that into accept everything that from the last 5 years, because all of our canceled shows aren't on there anymore because it makes more money if we sell it to somebody else. Like that's just not interesting, and that's disappointing. It doesn't mean that they don't exist, but I think
you can still buy them.
Some of them, Not all of them.
Yeah, not all of them. Most of them, I think.
Like every Disney Plus original show has not been like none of the Marvel shows have been put on physical media.
That's true. Yes, but yes, correct. I assume that. I mean, Disney is the fail safe.
Yeah.
I would imagine there just because of how big that company is. But
yeah, like I think you can buy Westworld on Blu-ray.
yeah,
which I think you should. Honestly, I've always been a proponent of physical media.
Yeah, and I'm the other side of that coin. I don't buy them, and I used to, but I just don't. If these things disappear, they disappear. It's like they're just gone. Sorry. There's so much stuff out there that you could do instead. Like, don't get hung up on stuff not being around. There's a million better things out there.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's like having access the way that we do is not that old of a concept. Like home video is only 40 years old, and having access to like television shows is younger than that.
Yep.
And before that, you saw Casablanca twice in the theater, and then you assumed you'd never see it again in your life.
And you like that stuff better because you did not have instant access to it. Like it was during your formative years, and you also just could not get it when you wanted it immediately, and it made it special to you. And now none of this stuff means anything. And don't apply how you feel about the stuff that you grew up liking. Don't give it the same amount of import as to random streaming show that disappears from the streaming network.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
I feel like we've talked about this before, but I do wonder what formative media younger generations have, because I do think a lot of the stuff that previous generations had was based on that scarcity.
Yeah.
Where it's like your memory of seeing Halloween when it came out was so much more impactful than being able to watch all 7 of them whenever you want and like kind of making it through the first one while you're looking at, what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know what younger people have.
They're gonna remember platforms more than like shows.
Well, I mean, it's already happening, right? Because I mean,
TikTok
nostalgia that people have for like Vine, like the concept of Vine.
Yeah. No, it's going to be like, because kids watch a lot of YouTube and they watch a lot of TikTok, and they'll just be like, "Wow, do you remember growing up and just flicking through TikTok videos?" Like that'll be what they talk about as opposed to a different show. So, yep, it is what it is. Do you use TikTok? I use TikTok just to see what it was, but I don't have it on my phone.
I thought about starting a TikTok called "How to Be an Artist," and just giving really stupid advice on how to be an artist.
Yeah.
But I never did it.
No, it's do you watch the YouTube shorts at all? Apparently the shorts are doing pretty well for them.
Not really.
Too.
No.
I it's the thing, it's like if I start watching one, I'll flip through them and be like, oh, like whatever. But a lot of it's just it's just that like if you're not in the mood for just like random jokey clip type thing, it's like, well, I don't know what this is, but there is something going on in your brain where it's like, that wasn't very funny, flick, let's see if this one's funny, nope, let's see if this one's funny, that one's kind of funny, let me watch that one again.
I get sucked into Instagram reels and like Instagram stories and stuff like that. Like if I get in a dog rut, right, I'll just be watching stupid dog videos for like an hour.
yeah no, I would, if I was more creative, I probably would want to do something with shorts. I do find that people who are very good at the shorts medium or TikTok medium is kind of an interesting skill. There's something very decisive about your editing. Like you're very good at immediately grabbing attention with something. Bring back the Berman YouTube shorts. I know it's just too much work. YouTube is really pushing shorts, but that's not good. What I
Rick, you can't really. We've run out of stuff for him. He hasn't really made his presence known, but I'm sure he'll pop up once 7 of 9 does.
I remember the first season of Twitter.
I didn't get into Twitter until like season 5. I just didn't get it.
Whenever, the season where they extended the character limit was it? It's always the animals bit that makes me fall down the shorts rabbit hole. Animals will do it. What is on my? Oh, I use app block on my phone, so I can't watch YouTube now. It always for me, my shorts is filled with stand-up comedy routines, MMA fights, and like personal finance stuff. It's just YouTube it's just this weird amalgamation, but I wouldn't say it's perfectly curated me at this point, but maybe I'll give them a little bit more information.
I don't understand the dancing TikToks.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
But
I don't, or the music one. Is that tie into like the music where the person's singing a song along with it?
That too. I don't understand them, but I kind of can't look away when they pop up.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure why.
It's usually a woman dressed very provocatively. And
maybe that's
like,
why.
Oh, this is something. Yeah. Maybe the streaming platforms are banking the magical Star Trek economy comes to fruition.
That would be amazing if we found out that the Earth of the Star Trek future, there was just like 150,000 streaming channels because everybody just had didn't have to work, didn't have any money concerns, so they all just made, they got 150 seasons of Arrested Development in that future.
Oh man. And Video Void is on the Denzel hot sauce. Good.
Oh,
I'm glad people watched it.
That up,
It is very funny. You got your wings. You got your hot sauce. I guess that's it. Everyone's kind of slowed down in the comments, and we've been going for an hour and 45. And I lied to my wife and told me it would be an hour. So shame on me. Thank you very much, Brandon, for the. I'll show this right there. Boom, pops up again.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. These streams are always nice. It's always like a laid-back affair. I don't have to watch a Star Trek episode to remind myself what's going on with it. Clave, anything you want to say? 9 years. I guess we should wrap up on the podcast, I guess.
Yeah. I can say I'm happy that you asked me to do this because I didn't know this would be something I really enjoyed doing. And it is. I really like it, and I'm so happy that there are people out there that enjoy the stupid shit that we say. I'm not really sure why they do. It's been very helpful to me. The people that have found me and my work through this have helped my career and comics and stuff. And so I can't thank you guys enough for sticking around for as long as you have.
Yeah, it's been fun. And thank you to you for joining me for this thing. Because it was
absolutely.
It was like, well, and all the guests, but you specifically, because you've been here obviously the longest now with me doing this. But it's like, it was a, because when the show started, it was along the lines of like, sort of the stress of asking someone out on like a date. It's like, would you like to talk about Star Trek in this microphone? And people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, why? Who the hell would ever want to do that? But some people did, and now it's doing this, and we do have a little bit of a community out there, which is shocking for this stuff. But it's also giving you on horror, the horror show podcast, the Batman podcast. Mm-hmm. I do like the medium. I really like the podcast medium. It's a good, like, it's a nice balance of work. Like, the editing work is not extreme. It's not like making YouTube videos where it's like you have to edit this thing for like 10 hours to make this at least look like you're trying to do something. Podcast audio is get your levels right, make it sound okay. Once you learn how to record, things are going to work out fine. And I like the variety of it, I think. And, we could probably push ourselves. Certainly on the Star Trek podcast, I could push myself harder in terms of clips and stuff. But I think we're at a point now where it's like you don't even need the clips, really. People listen to this stuff know the episodes backwards and forwards. They're not need to be reminded. Thanks for all the super chats, everybody. I'll show them on the thing. Matt Ross, PenskeCon, Video Void. Congrats, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Amazing chemistry is entertaining and insightful commentary on all things Trek and beyond. Thank you both. 9+ more years. Oh, Jesus.
That's, I have thought about that. What is going to be the point where we decide we don't want to do this anymore.
Mine comes down to tragedy. It's a weird dark. Mine comes down, but it would be, because like, if something horrible happened, right, and like there would be like no, it's like I'm just not gonna. It's not even. But you get into this weird headspace where you're like, it's not even worth bringing up why I'm stopping because it's none of your like. I say it kindly, but it's like it's literally no one's fucking business why I've stopped doing this. But at the same time, it would feel bizarre to me just ending it without saying like, oh, I'm like I have to go kind of thing. But also I hate all YouTube channels that are like, this is the goodbye. They always say like, this is goodbye. And then they have their 20-minute video where they're like, I'm saying goodbye because blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, I wouldn't want to do that, but it would be weird. I don't know what the end looks like, but it's something.
Yeah. I don't know. Cause I mean, there's always something stupid to talk about, right?
There is. I think that would have been a good line. That would have been a good line from you to just never. We never post another video or podcast again. It's just a live stream that you end it by just saying there's always something to talk about. And there becomes nothing left to talk about. Yeah, but thanks everybody for listening. Thank you for firstly enjoying Star Trek, and secondly enjoying Star Trek enough where you don't want to listen to these podcasts endlessly, and thirdly for liking Star Trek, listening to the podcast, and supporting the show at patreon.com. If any of you do that. A lot of you do, because I recognize all your names. And those are the names that stick in my heart.
In issue 4 of Batman White Knight Generation Joker that I wrote is out on the stands right now, so go buy that.
There you go.
Please. Thank you.
How many episodes or how many issues are there?
6.
There's 6.
Yep, it'll be done in October. Number 5 comes out in September, which features a cover by me, which is my first artwork for DC Comics, which I'm excited about. So that'll be fun.
We will
buy them all up.
We will have Frakes guest star the final podcast that we do, and he just walks around.
That's what I would need. Some kind of closure in that sense, where if we knew we were going to stop, we would need to do something weird.
Yeah.
I don't think I could just do a regular episode and be like, well, I guess we're done, guys. I would need to do something weird and meta. And
that would be like a Frakes cameo. Is that what that site's called? Cameo? I'd have to pay him a lot more money. I'd have to pay him like 2 months worth of Patreon and just say, listen, Jonathan, I need you to say 27 lines for me. That's it. I guess we're done. Cool. Thanks everybody. Thank you for support. Thank you for all the super chats. Thank you for the Patreon stuff. Thank you for listening and watching. Hope you guys have a good one. Thanks, Kenji. We'll be there in the background. And yeah, that's it. Join the Discord if none of you are on the Discord. Thomas Darnell just got home from work. Can't see what we missed. It's all out there. I'll wrap it up now. But join the Discord if you want to continue the conversation. I always say that the streams are so easy. I would like to do streams more. It's just that our schedule sucks for picking another day to stream on. But we'll figure something out. Special occasions. Thanks, everybody. 9 years. Here's to 9 more. Thank you, Baby Snake. We'll sign out with your comment.
Thank you for doing an anniversary podcast on what amounts to like the 33rd birthday of the show.
Well, Jesus died at 33, and
True.
We're on our way to bigger and better things as well. And we are nothing else. Our tagline is to just make things more bearable. Thank you very much for listening. We will see you guys later. Bye.